to pretend like we care. Even though we are bad guy, we'll pretend like we're a good guy. You understand? Hi guys, my name is Miriam and you're welcome to my channel. Thank you guys for clicking on my video. Today's Tuesday, so you're welcome to Tea with Miriam. So on Saturday I posted an introduction to my channel video. So I mentioned in this video, in case you're interested in the video, I'll put the link in the description box. But basically the video is just what my channel is going to be about and what I'll be talking about on my channel. So every Tuesday I'll be sitting down, I'll be talking about an historical event, historical figure, true crime story, or any story I find fascinating in general. So welcome to Tea with Miriam. Please subscribe to my channel. You're going to enjoy it. Please. Thank you. You'll be helping me out a lot. So on today's the very first episode. So I'll be talking about the women's riot of 1929 that took place in southeastern Nigeria during the colonial era. So let's get into the story. The about women first of all, before we start, in case just for people that are not Nigerian, maybe you don't know, Nigeria was colonized by Britain, by British people. So this story is during the colonial era. So in case you get lost during the story and you're just like, oh, what's happening? So that's basically it. So this about women's riot was a revolt or an uprising for women by women, that is, just organized by women, and women were the one that organized this revolt for women's rights during the colonial era in southeastern part of Nigeria. During this time, Nigeria was basically divided into three. We have the colony of Lagos, the Northern Protectorate, and the Southern Protectorate. So this took place in the southeastern part of the country. So according to history, the Aba Women's Riot was a revolt that was organized by women to protest market taxes. That's basically what everyone was told. That's what we're taught in school. But then it is, after doing some research, it was obvious that taxes were not the only reason why these women were protesting. They were basically protesting women's rights in general and also the rights of other people. They were revolting against the oppressive nature of their own leader and also the British leader. So for us to really dive into what this story, will go back to January 1914. So January 1st, 1914, the Northern Protectorate and the Southern Protectorate was amalgamated. Before it was governed, it was seen as a different region, but now it was amalgamated, and also the indirect rule system was introduced to the southern region. One thing about the indirect rule system is just basically the British people using the people's government to rule them, since they don't speak the same language, and this is also cost effective for them. Instead of bringing people from their own country to rule, they just use when they get to a region, be like, okay, who is the highest authority here? So they pick that person, the highest authority. They tell the person what to do. Tell your people this, tell your people that, tell them to do this. So that's basically the gist of the indirect rule system. So they introduced this system to the Southern Protectorate. They had already used this system in the northern part of the country, and it was very, very successful. So they felt like, okay, since we've run a test on this system, we are going to introduce it to the other parts of the country. But the gag here was that some part of the southern region did not operate like the other parts of the country. They don't have a centralized government. They shared power among age groups and gender. So and the southeastern part was like this. So getting there, they were surprised that, okay, these people, according to history, they said their system was bad, because they were not, unlike the other part of the country, that they had kings, they had certain rulers that had the whole authority, but this part of the country, everybody had a say in what was happening in the country. So they were surprised. So instead of them to try to adjust this, they felt like we still need to stick with this system of ours. So they decided to just dismantle their system of government, and they pick random people from among them to rule. They gave power to these people, and they told them to rule them, and these people were called the warrant chiefs. So you see, everybody was already, thrown off. They were like, what are these people doing? And also, now regards to the women were pushed out of politics, because when the British came and they saw that the women were very active in the politics of the region, they said this is a manifestation of chaos, and they decided to remove the women from politics as a whole. The thing is that when you think about this, it is actually not surprising, because when you go, this happened in the 1900, like 1914 to like 1920. That's like the time frame of this event. When you research the status of women in Europe during this time, it was quite obvious. Women were seen as properties, women were beaten, killed, women were seen as second class, citizens of the country. They don't have the right to own properties, not to talk of being involved in politics. So coming to that side, and then seeing people that they've deemed uncivilized, seeing them that they allowed their women like to be active. Women were basically in charge of commerce in this side of the country. Like almost every part of Africa, women they were active member of the society. So saying this, they saw it as, this is chaotic. Women are not like real people. They should not be allowed to to have rights and stuff like that. So they decided to push the women out of the politics. The women obviously were not happy, but then they let it go. They're like, okay, we still have other things to do. So this continued for a while, and then now the warrant chiefs that were selected, because now the people had no say in what was going on in the government. So the warrant chiefs had all the power. So they were power drunk, and they became very, very oppressive. They started finding people unnecessarily. They made people work for them. Anyone that tried to speak out against them was imprisoned. They just picked people up, imprisoned them, and they were just being ridiculous. So the women were already angry. Everybody was angry but things continued that way until 1928, when the Great Depression hit after the First World War. So when the Great Depression hit, Europe experienced like a fall in economy. So of course it's going to affect Britain. Britain were actually active in the First World War. So they went broke. They could not afford the colonialism again. They could not afford colonizing all the areas they have, and instead of going with the reasonable option of just going home, leave these people alone and go home, they decided that, okay, since we can't afford this, why not make these people pay us to colonize them? So they introduced the tax system. So when the tax system was introduced, it was the men that were told to pay taxes. So these taxes were so high that it was difficult for the men to even pay the taxes. Most of the time, women were the one helping the men pay these taxes, because now that they have this new system of government, these British people, they were building factories, building railway, building infrastructures. They take the men to build these things for them without paying them, or paying them little. So most of the time, these men don't have the time to cater to their own family, to work on their farms, to work on their own businesses in order to provide for their family. So basically, women were the one taking charge of the family, and debt, so the husband can focus on paying the taxes. You can see, I'm sure the women were already thinking, this is your stupid new society that we are no longer part of. Now you're making us pay for it. Like, it's ridiculous. So again, they were not satisfied. I guess they felt, okay, the women in this place, they they have money. Why can't we make them pay also, since they think they are equal to their men? So they decided to introduce a new system. Now bracket women will pay taxes, and also women and children will be seen as taxable possession. So for a man that is paying taxes, they're going to count his property, how many houses, how many gold ships that he has, and also his wives and children as taxable possession. So the women were angry. First of all, these taxes are ridiculous. So now we'll be paying two taxes because we're already helping our husbands pay these taxes. Now you want us to pay taxes, and again saying women and children to be taxable possessions, it's just dehumanizing. And these goats and sheep and chicken that you people want to count as property, again, most of the time these animals belong to women. So this is bad. This is bad for. So what they decided to do, they decided to appeal. So they went to the British administration to appeal their case to exempt them from paying taxes, but they were denied. So the women came together, they had a meeting, and they decided not to pay the taxes. So they came together and they said, okay, this is what we're going to do. These people can't force us to pay taxes. We are not going to pay taxes. They don't know how many we are. They don't know if we have anything. So how are they going to know? They're not going to catch us. So we're not going to pay these taxes. And this went on for a while. Until September 1929, when a new district officer was appointed to Bende district in a town called Oloko. The officer known as Captain J. Cook, I guess he was just doing the normal handing over process. He was checking the document. So he was checking the tax document, and he saw that these documents are not comprehensive, they are not correct. I'm not seeing people paying the right taxes. I'm not seeing people's belongings. You're not taxing them according to what they have. This needs to stop. So he basically said this needs to stop. It was just being overzealous. So he announced that there's going to be a census. They're going to start counting people, counting their belongings, just to update the tax document. 14, the census began, and rumors started spreading. So the women now, they were afraid that, their census things, I'm guessing, since they're taking this property counting seriously, I'm guessing they will want to pressure us to pay taxes. So these women, again, they started meeting, and they were scared. They were scared that, these people are going to make us pay tax. So this is what they decided. They said, if we confirm that these people are going to make us pay taxes, this is what we're going to do. We're going to protest. And that is it. We're going to protest because living like this is worse than dying. So we're not scared to die. We're going to protest. But before we do that, we'll be patient. We'll make sure that we confirm that indeed they are going to make us pay these taxes. So this was what the women decided on. November 18, one morning, one of the census officers, known as Emeruwa, entered the compound of a widow, Nwayewura. This Nwayewura, she's an active member of the Women's Society, and she's going to be important to these riots in general. So Emeruwa entered the compound of Nwayewura. She's a widow, so obviously they don't have a man in the house. She's like in charge of a family. So Emeruwa got there, and he was like, okay, I'm here to count you, bring out your goats and sheep, how many people are living in this house, so I can count your family members, so we'll know how much you'll be paying in taxes. So Nwayewura, they've been having meetings, so she was like, so are you people really serious? So she told him, was your mother counted? That was what she said. So Emeruwa obviously was angry. So they started fighting. Emeruwa started beating her. So she also smeared palm oil on his shirt and chased him away with broom. So that happened. So immediately she packed up her stuff. She went to the town square where the women were meeting, and she was like, let me tell you something, this is about to get serious. So she went there, she told them, look at me, this is what happened, these people are serious. So the women were angry for several reasons. They were angry, first of all, because now they've confirmed that these people are bent on taxing women. Number two, a man just beat up a woman, which is against their culture. And again, they were angry that the warrant chiefs that are giving these stupid orders, they are just so overwhelmed by the stupid power the British people gave them, that they no longer have any regard for the women, for their culture and everything. So they were angry. So they decided, somebody has to get cancelled. So they decided to protest against the warrant chief of their town. So this was what they did. They sent palm leaves to women in the neighboring villages. That's like a sign of emergency that you guys need to come here. No, we have things to do. So they decided to protest against the warrant chief of the area or local, and this warrant chief was named Okugo. So decided to sit on Okugo. The means of protest the women used during that time was called sitting on a man, and this sitting on a man was popular because this is what women used to fight against any form of injustice done to women. Maybe a man is assaulting his wife, a man is committing adultery, and stuff like that. So this is the process of sitting on a man. Is just women just gather, they will go to the man's house, sing, insult his manhood, destroy his property, sometimes remove the roof of his house, sometimes they follow him all around the village, just disgracing him in general. And most of the time when they do this, even the men in the area will leave the man and be like, girl, I got your back from right here. Like, they don't support the men. Like, they do this until the man apologizes or changes his way. So that was what they did to Okugo. So now the women gathered, over 10,000 women gathered. They went to Okugo's house to protest against him, to sing and do, just do their thing. But surprisingly to them, Okugo was very stubborn. So instead of him to maybe come out, apologize to them and try to, say something nice, he ran away, and then he sent his men to beat these women up again. So his men beat them, and one of the women even said she lost her baby, like she lost her pregnancy during this. So the men were very angry. So this is what they did. They decided to go to his oga at the top. So they went to his bosses, that is the British people. They went to the native courts, like, we don't want this man anymore, we don't want him as our warrant chief. Surprising to them, the British people actually removed Okugo as the warrant chief, and they even put him on trial, and over 1,000 women were witnesses against him. So they put him on trial, and he was later sentenced to 2 years imprisonment. So the women were like, oh, so we have the power to remove these stupid warrant chiefs. So women, the neighboring village that were also involved in the removal of Okugo, they went to their villages and they started organizing their own protest against their warrant chiefs. And some of them were actually successful. So when they saw that, they started demanding more changes in the economy, because the economy was actually going down. Some of them were running out of business because of the Great Depression. The British people were hiking the prices on their own goods, on foreign goods, but then lowering the prices on locally produced goods. And these women sometimes, especially, their commerce depend solely on palm oil, and the price of palm oil had dropped. Like, now they were selling palm oil for cheap, but then anything else that they actually need, that they buy from the British, was very high. So they started mentioning all these school for their children, how their children has to pay high school fees for schools and stuff like. So they started demanding things from these British people. I guess the British people were already feeling very uncomfortable. Sometimes they address them, sometimes they don't. So this continued, but the protest was even though like 25,000 women were involved in this protest, and over 6 districts were participating in this protest, it was actually very, very peaceful until December 13 in Owerri province, when they see women angry, like destroying government properties and stuff like that. So when people saw this, they were like, so decided to ask them, so why you have been peaceful, so why are you doing this? So they said, while they were demonstrating at the market, one particular British doctor drove his car into the crowd, killing one of the women. So the women were angry. So other women too, they heard this too. So they started destroying the British infrastructures. They went to the prison, they released prisoners, they were burning down buildings. So they were angry that we are only asking for our rights, though now you have result to killing us. And this said British doctor was not even questioned or anything. When they asked him, actually, he said it was because he was scared of the women, were going to attack him. So nothing was done to him because they felt fear was valid, even though the women did not have any history of hurting anybody or being violent or anything. So the women were angry. So when the women started destroying properties, showing anger, the British troops also retaliated by shooting these women. Number 14, police fired into the ground in Aba where a group of women were protesting. So when they fired into the ground, the women started running and a lot of them were injured. Also, into the crowd in Opobo, and they killed 30 women with one man that was just
Hi,
innocent.
hello,
Was
editing
backing
Miriam
down
here. So I forgot to mention
and
also
also
on December 15, police
saved the
in
life
Uru
of
Etim Ekpo fired into a crowd of women,
and this
killing
was
18 and wounding
while
19 others.
until
Also, after all the protests, their leader, Madam Inete, was also arrested and imprisoned for 2 years. So bye.
after all the protests and everything, they were able to calm the country down again, the region down again. Everything was calm. So the secretary of the colonies at that time, Lord Passfield, decided to launch an inquiry into everything that happened. And that was not because he's a good person. He's trying to find out, like, okay, what really happened. The thing is that was, as at the time, the Julian Wallabag massacre just happened in India, and the British Indian troops actually faced a lot of backlash from the British public. When I'm talking about the British public now, I'm talking about British people that are living in Britain, living back home. They heard about it and they were angry. Why did the troops like shoot the people, kill the people? I'm sure they were like, we only sent you here to steal from them, extort them. We're not asking you to kill them. So Lord Pasfield was actually scared that if this news traveled back home, he was going to get fired or something, was going to face the same backlash. So he was scared, so he decided to launch an inquiry. So I am guessing is like, guys, this is what we're going to do to avoid getting cancelled. We are going to pretend like we care, even though we are bad guy, we'll pretend like we're a good guy. You understand? So that was what he did. Even though the commission was filled with British officials, there was no Nigerian, and they questioned, I think, about 30 or 36 witnesses. They questioned like 36 people, and the people that were witnesses, these 36 witnesses, none of the women that were affected by this protest or that were involved in this protest was questioned at all. So the result came out. Obviously the result was not comprehensive, so it was still like, guys, I said we need something to prove. I'm guessing it's trying to see if the British troop was at fault, so then it can look for maybe one or two people to a scapegoat and then go scot-free. So the second is that it launched the second inquiry, and this time the commission consists of 2 Nigerian barristers, and now they questioned 500 witnesses, including British and Nigerian people. So this, obviously, because they did this second inquiry very well, it was obvious that the British troops could have avoided shooting at these women, and it was actually the British people's fault that the protest turned violent. So you would think that, oh, finally the women will get the justice they deserve, but no. Unlike what Lord Pasfield has predicted, the British public did not actually care. In fact, the media coverage was in favor of the British people. One of London newspaper actually had this ridiculous, what they call this thing, this ridiculous headline. The headline was native unrest in Nigeria, and the content of the whole article was how aggressive women in Aba were attacking British officials for no reason at all, just because they were angry. So I guess this kind of media, that was what the British people were consuming. So they were like, okay, I guess these women deserve it. So Lord Pasfield was happy that, okay, finally this is ending up good. So they didn't punish any of the officers. Some of the officers were transferred out of the country, out of the region, but nothing was really done to any of the officers that were involved in this shooting. But then Nigerians were punished because some villages that were very active in this revolt were burned down. Some of the women were forced to pay fines for destroying these properties. Their leader was in prison. The form of sitting on a man or any kind of women advocacy was, abolished and everything. So I'm guessing the women must have been very, very sad, because all their efforts, all the, like, over 50 people were already dead. This is going in vain. So they were angry. But then by 1933, the old warrant chief system was abolished. So I guess that's like a win for the women. It was abolished and it was replaced with the mass benches, where there are panel of judges that were in charge of the region. It's just that, like a bunch of people, not just one person. That so and also the people were also involved. The people were allowed to select whoever is going to be on this panel of judges. Although women were not actually allowed to really serve, like they rarely serve on these man's benches, but they also had a say on whoever is going to be on these man's benches. And that is the end of the Aba Women's Riot. So thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you really like this story, please make sure you give my video a thumbs up, and also subscribe to my channel, because I have a lot of videos like this coming up every Tuesday. I'll make sure to post an interesting story. And if there's actually an historical event or historical fact or a true crime story that you would like me to research on and cover on this channel, you can mention that in the comment section. I'll be looking at it. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I love you. Bye.